Good morning. This is my school finance presentation for the end of our school finance class. I want to talk about what I've learned about budgeting and as far as running money in a school and all the ins and outs that we've covered so far this semester. And basically, it all boils down to the following thing, which is show me the money. It would have been a little more exciting if my clip had worked, but apparently on Novio, it's not letting me play my YouTube clip. When I did on my slide on screencast, it lets me play, but here it does not. So instead of getting Cuba Gooding doing it, you'll have to just go with me. Show me the money, Jerry. We're going to talk about the money, how to account for the money, show what we're spending our money on. In regards to my confidence level when I started, I felt more kind of like Goofy there at the bottom of the picture. And by the time we were finished, I definitely did not feel like an expert, but I felt like I had the tools to be our little studious friend there and look up and get the answers. Like I said, after our group work and studying and working with my office manager, I feel like I know a little bit better how to read these reports and which reports I need to look into in order to find out the information and some of the pitfalls that I would need to be aware of avoiding in order to keep myself out of trouble. As I discussed in the previous slide, I worked with my office manager to get kind of a sense of the budget and how they order and what boxes need to be checked and what companies need to go through and what forms need to be filled out. Also working with my group on this revenue project and expenditure project really kind of opened my eyes to all of where the funding comes from and what boxes need to be checked again and who is accountable and how we maintain that accountability and the circle and cycle of where all that money flows. Also, our group seminars discussing this, the reading in the book, and Dr. Herbold herself has actually helped clear this up for me. Now, when I say cleared up, still kind of clear as mud. Obviously, I'm going to be looking back to these files over and over again to make myself a little bit more aware and more comfortable. And, the old saying, practice makes perfect. This is obvious. I obviously don't feel like I'm ready to jump in head first, but I'm definitely know where I need to look in order to find these things out. I did find it interesting, the division as far as the 11% federal, 33% government, and 56% local. It was kind of interesting the way that's divvied up and how we maintain our accountability and show, in order to keep those finances, what we have to show and how we have to toe the line. And then it was interesting how, of course, we did not stay on budget over here on our expenditure project, where there was a net change, which you show right here. And obviously, we did not stay on budget there, which seems to be more common than it is not. Okay, we'll try this again. Oh, and of course, the clip is not working. It's going to lose a little humor in the translation when you have to explain the joke. But basically, the boss comes to Dilbert here and explains to him that the money he had budgeted for his project, he is now going to take and use for his own personal use, which is kind of leading into the next slide. And what we're going to talk about is how you avoid the perception or the reality of doing those kind of things, which can get you into a lot of trouble in the district. Our friend Scrooge McDuck here might not be the most reliable sources, but he did do some things that kept himself above reproach when it came to running his business. As you see, to avoid our Dilbert scenario from the previous slide, you want to do meticulous record keeping so that at any time you can show and account for all of your actions, all of your budgetary decisions, everything that you spent the money on. You want to have all the I's dotted and the T's crossed. Everybody knows exactly where the money went. There's no question and there's no perception of any kind of wrongdoing. When in doubt, find out. If you don't know, don't guess. Ask someone else, and if they don't know, find out from the next person. Make sure that you are filling out the forms correctly, that you're submitting them correctly, and that everything is following as it should. Act alone as you would when being observed. So just because someone might not be looking over your shoulder, you should always make your decisions as if somebody is, or that someone's going to come in afterwards and do so. That way you have nothing to hide and you don't come across as if you're trying to hide anything. And bottom line is just do your best. Do everything in the best of your ability. If you try your best and everything is done from a pure place where you're putting forth your best effort, everything should work out just fine. Now, the last slide showed how to look out for yourself and to avoid any kind of impropriety or appearance of impropriety. You also need to train your staff in order to be most effective, and so they are clear on your expectations and also are doing the job that needs to be done, because you're only as good as the people that you train. So you basically want to make sure that you're training everyone the same way, so there's no question. So Bob doesn't do things one way and Sally does them another. You want to make sure that everybody is on the same page, everything's done the same way, so if someone else new comes into the office, they know exactly what's expected and what the policies and the procedures are. You want to maintain accountability for everybody. Everyone who has a hand in the pot needs to be able to justify where that money is being spent. No one should be able to slip through the cracks or have any kind of temptation. As long as everyone's accountable, everything should stay above board. Stay connected through participation and review. Make sure that you're part of the process. Don't just pawn it off, because ultimately it's going to come back to you. You want to review what's going on. You want to be part of the process, part of the planning. You want to check in to see how things are going. Practice consistency with all involved. That just kind of goes with everything else that we've said. Just make sure that what you're saying to one person is what you're saying to the next person, and that what the procedure and the policy is being followed and implemented to the letter every single time, and that we're not making any kind of exceptions for certain cases or scenarios or different people. And ultimately, remember that the buck stops with you. You're the boss. When they come looking for who's to blame, that's going to fall on you, which leads us to our final thought on our final slide. In the immortal words of Ben Parker to his nephew Peter, with great power comes great responsibility. If you're going to be the person that's in charge and be given all of this power and all of this responsibility, you need to take it seriously. With the job and the bigger pay and the bigger office and all that also comes bigger responsibility, and you need to be willing to shoulder that and not pass the buck onto anybody that's underneath you. Ultimately, build everybody up and they'll make you look good, and know that ultimately everything comes back on you.